What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about Bitcoin BTC today. Yes, we are. 3 days down in a row, huh? We've got 3 days of red in a row. I wonder, it's my first time thinking about it, but if we look back, when was the last time that we had 4 days of red in a row? It looks like 3 has been the maximum for quite some time. Oh, there's a 4. There we go. Back in November of 2023. It has been since November of 2023 that we have had 4 red days in a row, and the 5th green day ate all of it up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 there. Not a whole lot going on. 3, 4. Yeah. All right. Anyways, will we see a 4th red day in a row? Maybe, maybe not. Even if we get a green day here, even if this day engulfs yesterday and the day before's price action, we get some prices up here again. I very much do anticipate that we're going to see lower prices inevitably. We probably will, as BTC likes to do. Whenever it finds its low, like its true low, we'll get that kind of flash move down, and it'll seem big, but really, like, look at this day, right? It's a big looking candle, relatively speaking, but it's only 4.8%. This candle looks big in comparison, but it's only 7.7%. Now, that's a lot for Bitcoin these days, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, these past 3 days have been 1.3%, 1.8% at the biggest. When we find our low, it'll likely be bigger than this candle here. It'll be bigger than this candle, something like that. You might see a candle like this. So all I'm trying to say is 3 red days in a row. If today's green, so what? Tomorrow or the next day might just engulf all that and be our drop that we finally see to end this downtrend, and then we can start whittling our way up over time. I do anticipate that we have one more drop left in us. I am going to pause the music. I realized that I've forgotten to do that. I do believe we have one more drop left in us. I'll go over that. I'll go over as to why I believe in that, beyond just the obvious view of the chart, and then what I believe the price will do after we found our low. And the hint of it is the same as I've been saying for a few weeks, maybe even a couple months now, is that it's going to be boring. Price action is going to be boring after we found our low. We might move up, it's going to be the low, but we're not breaking above this high on BTC for months, probably months. It'll probably be at the earliest July, if not likely sometime in August or even September. It could be even later than that. But if we look here, it's relative high here to this low. We reached for the 618, we just couldn't get to it, and that's normally a bearish thing. Closing below the 382, not a bullish thing in itself. The last line of defense would be the 60K area at the 236. We've identified that for the past couple days, I think. When we close below that, I think it'll be undeniable at that point. Right now, it's still kind of deniable, right? But after we get below 60K, it'll be undeniable that we're moving down to about 54.3K to 51.5K, somewhere in that area. And absolutely, we could go lower. We could go to 49K, 47K. It could happen. I personally am looking for a 54 to 51K price. I had high hopes that could have been the low, but we're just not getting any follow through. No volume coming in. Weak looking daily RSI. And the weekly itself looks fine. It could go lower still. It could tolerate some lower drives. In fact, if we were to connect this low here with that low there, I mean, it could afford to go a lot lower, near the 50, and absolutely that could send us down below this low here and down into like 54K, 51K. Again, these drops, being that this is the weekly, we have a whole 7, or if one day we went down super hard, we'd have 6 days to recover, or even if it was in the middle of the week, we'd have multiple days to recover. We could have a wick. What I'm trying to say is by the time we get our low in BTC, the day of it on this weekly scale, we might see the RSI below this line. But as the rest of the week closes out, the price might build back up. We might close right at it or even above it. Something like that could happen. So just because the day that we find our low, we are below this line, don't be scared. That might actually be a signal in itself that it's time to buy. If that doesn't make sense, don't worry about it. You don't need to know. It's not that you don't need to know, but I'm not going to go over and explain what I mean by that. I hope it makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, it's really not that big of a deal to worry about. Just understand that we are in a trend right now. I think it's obvious that we're in a trend where we have a high here, we have a lower high here, we have a lower high here and a lower high here, we have a low here, a lower low here, and we have a lower low there. We are moving down. If you connect the dots, it almost looks like a channel right down. So methodically, meticulously, we are working our way down. We are rejecting the 50 area on the daily. Generally speaking, I would expect at least to move down to the oversold zone, if not into the oversold zone. We don't need bullish divergence to find a low. I'll show you what I mean. We have our low right here, and we did not have bullish divergence. Bullish divergence, for those of you that don't know, it's where you get a higher low in your RSI, but a lower low in your price. I'm just drawing lines to show you, like, if the price was to go to a lower low, but the RSI was to do a higher low, that would be bullish divergence. But you didn't have that here. You just had one low, and that was it, and then you went up. Who knows? All I'm trying to say is we do not need to form a higher low in order to form a low in price. We don't need the higher low in the RSI. We could go a little bit lower, and everything's still fine. All I'm really trying to say is the RSI looks weak. It looks like it wants to hit that oversold zone again, and it probably will. And with that will drive prices lower, likely in the form of an extension of this move that we just had from this relative low here, if I can get it, to that relative high, which would put us down at about 54.3K to 51.5K. And at this point, I'm repeating myself. We've gone full circle, so I think I'll cut it there. I'll reinstill this thought. We talk about it enough. Let's do it one more time. Because at the beginning of the video, I was calling for prices to be, after we find our low, to be boring. We're not going to go above that high for months, right? That's what I said. So let's go over that real quick. I know for those of you that have been watching the channel day in and day out for the past few weeks, this might seem a bit repetitive, but I know I get a lot of new viewers, and that's why I do this, to just show you where I'm coming from. So I'm not just some lunatic calling prices and you're like, where the hell is, what's this guy talking about? Like, okay, he seems convinced, but I'm not convinced. I don't know enough about what he's saying. So November 26, 2012. November 26, 2012, right here. That's the date. Okay, of the week. That's when the week started. The first halving that Bitcoin ever had was this week. It was on the 28th of November. We didn't break out until about 7 weeks later. 49 days later is what it says. I mean, who knows? It could have been 42, 43 days later, because it doesn't tell us actually what day. But 7 weeks later. That's how long it took for us to break the high that we set before the halving. It was 7 weeks. It took us 7 weeks to do that. That was the very first halving. The second halving that we had was all the way over here, July 9th, 2016. So it would have been this week. Before we broke this high, the high before the halving, it took us all the way up until here, right? Let's see. That high was 792.25. This high is 789. So yes, indeed, that is the high right there. It took us 23 weeks. So we jumped from 7 weeks to 23 weeks. It's a pretty solid amount of time. That was our second halving. The last halving cycle was May. I think it was May 11th. I keep saying I think. Let's just look at this. Bitcoin halvings dates. Sure, whatever. Halving dates. November, May 11th it is. July 9th, 2016. That much I knew. I've been saying May 11th, so I'm glad that I'm not wrong on that, but I didn't have utmost confidence. May 11th right here. So technically the weekly close. That was the halving. The high that we had prior to the halving, I suppose, would have been this high. You could say it's this high, whatever, but let's just say it was this high. This was the direct high before the halving, okay? Until we broke that high. We came close here, but we didn't break that high until this here, which was 11 weeks, right? After the halving. And then really, we actually broke back into like this area right around the high of the halving, like right around there. We didn't really start taking off until about 23 weeks, 23 weeks, 23 weeks, 2 times, you know. However, to be completely fair, it was 11 weeks that we broke the previous high of the halving. But another thing to mention would be 23 weeks again before we really started to take off. 7 weeks, 23 weeks, 11 weeks though to break the high before the halving. From the halving time, not from the high time. So here's our high here on March 11th, 2024, that week. The halving was April 20th, which would have been this week here. At a minimum, 7 weeks would be the expectation, though I don't think it's going to be 7 weeks. That'd put us in the beginning of June before we break this high here at $73,573. Sorry, $73,757. Man, I've got some. It's not. What do they call it? It's dyscalculia. Whenever it's letters, it's dyslexia, and then whenever it's numbers, it's dyscalculia. I'm pretty sure. Had a little dyscalculia going on there, and if not, I just have a case of the I don't know what do they call it? Speaking in nonsense. I don't know. Gibberish, that's the word. Okay, 7 weeks after the halving. Earliest would be June. Last cycle we saw 11 weeks, which would put us in the first week of July. But really, it was probably 23 weeks that we started to take off, in my opinion, and 23 weeks from the longest that we've seen so far by definition, by true definition. So that could be as late as late September. We could go longer than that. We could go shorter than that, I suppose. But genuinely speaking, I'm not even looking at the 7 week. I accept it as a possibility, but I don't genuinely consider it as a likelihood. I think somewhere between this makes more sense to me. Between July and September, and smack dab in the middle, if we can just roughly eyeball it, probably right there, that'd put us in the middle of August. And that's why I've been saying it'll probably be until August. Not that we start moving up. We're not going to be doing this until August, right? We're not going to be doing this until any of these lines. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is we probably find our low. We probably find our low either this week, right, here, or next week, right? It's probably going to be around there too, like around this area. And then until this line, we're going to be below the white line. That's all I'm saying. So until this line, it could look like this. And then 1 week we just, you know, it could look like that. It could look like this, where we move up, but then we meander, and then we move up again, you know, something like that. But we likely will not be above new all-time highs until at least July. We are in the second week of May as of, like, technically yesterday. For me, it's today, though. It's the 8th for me now. So this is the 8th day. On the charts, it's the 9th day of the month. We've still got a whole month to go. The earliest that I could see this happening would be July, so we've got all of June as well. Things are going to be boring, even if we find our low. And you can tell people are bored, man, because this most recent pump that we had from down here at about 57K up here, people got so excited. People got so excited, and it's great. I love seeing people being excited, you know. But there's a point where it's like you can tell the market's just bored. People are just bored, right? They'll take anything they can get as far as like price action goes. From a low here, this is what I mean. 1 day went by, 2 days went by, 3 days, 4 days. On the 5th day, Bitcoin took 5 days to move 16%. And I know for some people that's awesome. And don't get me wrong, I would love to make 16%, but who's going to buy the absolute low and sell the absolute high? You know, the person that sold the absolute high is probably likely not the same person that bought the absolute low, right? So you're probably going to make less than 16%. But over 5 days in crypto, and everybody was like, that's the low. This means that's the low. It's a lower high. That means it's the low. Like that. We're getting too excited. And then whenever we break this low, it's the same thing, but to the opposite effect. We're going to 20K. We're going to 30K. The bull market's dead. You know, all those. So it's like, we're going to new all-time highs. Bull market's dead. We're going to new all-time highs. The bull market's dead. We're going to go, you know, so just be prepared for that. When we do find our next low, people are going to be like, we're going to new all-time highs. But you know, after seeing the data that I've gone over in this video, that probably won't be true until at least July. That doesn't mean we can't move up. Again, we're not moving down until July. We're not moving down until September. We're probably only moving down for the rest of this week or next week. Probably. That's my genuine opinion. But over the months, it will be multiple months, we're going to maintain prices below this high. So we've got time to accumulate not just Bitcoin, but other coins as well. And that's it. That's all I got to say. So if you guys liked the video, if it made sense to you, if you had a good time, if you have brown eyes or green eyes or blue eyes or red eyes or purple eyes, or if you have contacts in, hit that like button. And I will see you guys on the next one. Take care of yourselves. I think I covered all the bases. Hazel. There's probably hazel eyes. There's some people that have like golden eyes too. Like seriously, like golden eyes, man. It's crazy. Music's having a hard time playing, but anyways, I'm done. Jabber jabber, jibber jabber. Bye bye. All right. Now we're back for the secret meeting. Everybody's gone, but you stayed because this is the secret meeting of the video. Okay, so we attack tonight. Okay, at what is it? It would be 1400 UTC at the place that we all know, but we avoid. All right, that's the key words. Bring your synchronized watches and scuba gear. You know what to do. We'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.